The call from my bank came at 11:47 p.m., just as I was getting ready for bed. My phone lit up with an unfamiliar number, and something in my gut told me to answer it. I wish I hadn't. I'm Julia, and until that moment, I thought I had my life perfectly arranged. At 28, I had a stable job in marketing, my own apartment, and what I believed was a close-knit family. Sure, my younger sister Scarlett had always been the family favorite, but I'd learned to live with that. Earlier that day, we'd all gathered at my parents' house for Mom's birthday. Scarlett had shown up fashionably late, as usual, wearing a designer dress I knew she couldn't afford on her barista salary. "Oh, darling, you look absolutely stunning," Mom had gushed, embracing Scarlett while I finished setting the table, a task no one had even noticed I'd been doing for the past 20 minutes. "Thanks, Mom. I just had to get something special for your big day." Scarlett twirled, her perfectly styled hair bouncing. She caught my eye and smirked. "Julia, you look comfortable." I smoothed down my sensible blouse, swallowing the retort that threatened to escape. Adrian, my best friend, had always said I needed to stand up for myself more, but I preferred keeping the peace. Dad emerged from his study, immediately brightening at the sight of Scarlett. "There's my little princess. How's that new apartment working out?" "It's amazing, Daddy. The view is just incredible," Scarlett gushed, conveniently leaving out the part about how she'd been struggling to make rent last month. "Julia, honey," Mom called from the kitchen, "could you help me with the dishes?" Of course. While Scarlett held court in the living room, I was relegated to kitchen duty. "Again. So," I said, trying to make conversation as I scrubbed a particularly stubborn pan. "How's Tristan, Scarlett? Haven't seen him around lately." The room fell silent. Scarlett's smile flickered for just a moment. "Oh, he's just busy with work. You know how it is in finance." Something about her tone felt off, but before I could probe further, Mom jumped in. "Scarlett, darling, tell everyone about that charity event you're organizing." I tuned out as Scarlett launched into what was undoubtedly another exaggerated tale. Instead, I found myself studying her new designer bag, the expensive watch on her wrist, the fresh highlights in her hair. On a barista's salary, it didn't add up. My phone buzzed with a text from Adrian. "How's the family circus?" "Same old show," I typed back. "Queen Scarlet holding court while I play servant." "Get out of there before you turn into a pumpkin, Cinderella," he replied, making me smile for the first time that evening. The party wrapped up predictably, Scarlet making a dramatic exit, claiming an early morning meeting, while I stayed behind to help clean up. Mom barely noticed when I left, too busy showing Dad the selfies she'd taken with Scarlet. That's why, when my phone rang late that night, I was already feeling raw. The voice on the other end was professional, concerned. "Ms. Riley, this is Sandra from First National Bank's fraud department. We've noticed some unusual activity on your account, specifically regarding a recent loan application." "Loan application?" My stomach dropped. I haven't applied for any loans. "Our records show a personal loan for $50,000 was approved last week under your name and social security number." The room started spinning. "That's impossible. I never—" Then it hit me. The designer clothes, the new apartment, Scarlett's sudden financial turnaround. "The application was processed at our downtown branch," Sandra continued. "The signature matches our records, but if you're saying you didn't apply—" "I need to see that application," I said, my voice shaking. "First thing tomorrow." After hanging up, I sat in the dark, my mind racing. The expensive clothes, the new apartment, the way she'd smirked at me during dinner. It all made horrible sense now. My own sister had stolen my identity. My phone lit up again, another text from Adrian. "You okay? You seemed off today." I stared at the message, my hands trembling as I typed. "I need your help. Something's very wrong. The clock ticked past midnight, and I knew sleep wouldn't come. Tomorrow, I'd have to face the truth about my sister, and nothing would ever be the same again. But first, I needed proof. And then Scarlett would learn that her perfect, peaceful pushover sister had finally reached her breaking point. The bank's fluorescent lights made everything look harsh as I stared at the loan application in front of me. There it was, my signature, perfectly forged, my social security number, my employment details, everything about me, except it wasn't me at all. The woman who came in, I said to the bank manager, my voice tight. What did she look like? He shifted uncomfortably. Long dark hair, about your height. She had all the correct identification and looked exactly like me, I finished. Because of course she did. We'd always been told how much we looked alike. Adrian squeezed my hand under the table. I'd called him first thing that morning, and he'd insisted on coming with me. Now I was grateful for his presence as I gathered copies of everything. We'll need to file a police report, the manager said. Identity theft is a serious crime. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Identity theft. My own sister. I called Scarlett next. She answered on the fourth ring, her voice chirpy. Hey sis, what's up? We need to talk, in person, now. I'm actually headed to, now Scarlett, your apartment. I'm coming over. 20 minutes later, I was pounding on her door. Adrian waited in the car, ready to call if I needed backup. When Scarlett opened up, she was already dressed for work in another expensive outfit that made my blood boil. What's the emergency? She asked, applying lipstick in her entryway mirror. I slapped the loan documents down on her counter. Want to explain this? She barely glanced at them. What's that? A $50,000 loan. In my name, that I never applied for. Her hand paused mid-stroke. For just a second, fear flashed across her face before she recovered. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop lying, I exploded. The bank has security footage. They're filing a police report. This is serious, Scarlett. She spun to face me, her facade cracking. You wouldn't understand. Tristan's investment went bad, and we needed the money. I was going to pay it back before you ever found out. Tristan? This was for Tristan? My head spun. You committed fraud for your boyfriend? He promised it would triple in value. We just needed startup capital. You stole my identity. I was screaming now, all those years of being the good sister evaporating. Do you have any idea what this could do to my credit? My future? Keep your voice down, she hissed, glancing nervously at her fancy walls. The neighbors. Oh, you mean the neighbors in this apartment you're paying for with my stolen money? Her face hardened. I said I'll pay it back. Just give me time. Time? I laughed bitterly. You know what? Everyone needs to know exactly who you are. I pulled out my phone and opened Facebook. My hands shook as I typed. To everyone who knows my sister Scarlett, she just stole my identity to take out a $50,000 loan. She forged my signature, used my social security number, and lied to my face about it. Now she's living in luxury with my credit. Police report being filed. Hope that designer bag was worth it, sis. What are you doing? Scarlett lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. Delete that right now. No, I hit post. For once in your life, you're going to face consequences. My phone started buzzing immediately. Mom's name flashed on the screen. Julia, what have you done? Scarlett's voice cracked. Mom and Dad will what? Finally see who you really are? I answered the call, putting it on speaker. Mom's voice filled the room. Julia, delete that post right now. How dare you try to destroy your sister's reputation? Mom, she stole. I don't want to hear it. You've always been jealous of Scarlett. Taking private family matters public is absolutely unacceptable. Scarlett smirked, and something in me snapped. You know what, Mom? For once, I don't care what you think. Your perfect daughter is a criminal, and I'm done covering for her. I hung up as more notifications flooded my phone. Family members, mutual friends, all taking sides, most defending Scarlett, calling me bitter, jealous, cruel. Happy now? Scarlett spat. You've ruined everything. I headed for the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. No, Scarlett, you did that all by yourself. As I walked to Adrian's car, my phone kept buzzing with messages. But among the criticism, one comment caught my eye. Good for you for speaking up. More people need to expose family members who abuse their trust. I took a deep breath. The truth was out now, and there was no going back. Let them take sides. For the first time in my life, I was taking my own. 3 days after my post, I sat in Adrian's kitchen, staring at my phone. 37 missed calls from Mom, 23 from Dad, countless messages from relatives calling me a monster for destroying the family. You need to eat something, Adrian said, sliding a plate of pasta in front of me. I can't believe they're all defending her. I pushed the food around with my fork. She committed a crime. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was my cousin Rachel. How could you do this to your own sister? She made a mistake. Take down that post. I threw my phone across the couch. A mistake? She deliberately forged my signature. Hey, Adrian grabbed my shoulders. Look at me. You did the right thing. The police report is filed. The bank is investigating, and a knock at the door cut him off. Through the peephole, I saw Dad standing there, looking grim. I can tell him to leave, Adrian offered. I shook my head. No, it's time to face this. Dad burst in the moment I opened the door. Julia, this has gone far enough. Delete that post and apologize to your sister. Hello to you too, Dad. Don't get smart with me. Your mother hasn't slept in days. Scarlett's boyfriend broke up with her. Her friends are avoiding her. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted, my voice rose. What I wanted was a sister who didn't steal my identity. What I wanted was parents who actually cared about the fact that I'm the victim here. We care, but what? But Scarlett's feelings matter more? But family image is more important than right and wrong? Dad's face reddened. You don't understand what you've done. The bank called your mother today. They're considering pressing charges. Good, I shouted. Maybe she'll finally learn. She could go to jail, Julia. Is that what you want for your sister? Adrian stepped forward. Sir, with all due respect, Scarlett made her own choices. Julia's just telling the truth. Dad whirled on him. Stay out of this. This is family business. He is my family, I shot back. He's been more supportive than any of you. My phone pinged with a notification. Someone had shared my post in a support group for fraud victims. Comments were pouring in. Stand your ground. Family or not, fraud is fraud. You're so brave for speaking up. I wish I'd had your courage when my brother did this to me. Dad noticed me reading. More attention. That's all you ever wanted, isn't it? To overshadow your sister for once? The words hit like a slap. Get out. Julia, get out. My voice shook. Until you're ready to acknowledge what Scarlett did to me, we have nothing to discuss. After he left, I collapsed onto Adrian's couch. I can't believe this is happening. Check your email, said a voice from the doorway. It was Gemma from work, arriving for our planned dinner. I think you'll want to see this. I opened my inbox to find a message from an anonymous account. Attached were screenshots of text messages between Scarlett and Tristan. Scarlett, it's done. Got the loan using Julia's info. Tristan, perfect. Transfer the money today. Scarlett, what if she finds out? Tristan, she won't. And if she does, your parents will believe whatever you tell them. Where did you get these? I asked Gemma. Let's just say Tristan's ex-girlfriend works in my yoga class. She saw your post and wanted to help. I forwarded the screenshots to the police detective handling my case. Within minutes, my phone rang. Ms. Riley, this evidence significantly strengthens your case. We'll need to bring both your sister and Mr. Bennett in for questioning. After hanging up, I noticed a new comment on my post from Mom. I raised you better than this. Family protects family. My fingers flew across the keyboard in response. You raised me to tell the truth. Or does that only apply when it's not about Scarlett? You okay? Adrian asked softly. I looked up at my best friend and my coworker, both standing by me when my own family wouldn't. No, but I will be. Gemma sat down beside me. You know what? Let's post those screenshots. Show everyone exactly how premeditated this was. They'll say I'm being cruel again. Maybe, Adrian said. But the truth isn't cruel. It's just the truth. I took a deep breath and started typing. Update to my previous post. For those defending my sister, calling this a mistake, here's proof it was all planned. As I hit post, I felt something shift inside me. The guilt was gone, replaced by a strange sense of peace. Let them call me whatever they wanted. I had proof, I had support, and for the first time in my life, I had power over my own story. The screenshots changed everything. Within hours of posting them, my parents' house became ground zero for a family intervention. Except this time, I wasn't the target. You planned this? Mom's voice carried through the living room as I walked in. She was standing over Scarlett, who sat crumpled on the couch, mascara streaking her face. With that boy? I hadn't wanted to come, but Adrian had convinced me. You need closure, he'd said. Face them on your terms. Dad noticed me first. Julia's here. Scarlett's head snapped up. Come to gloat? No, I said quietly. I came because the detective asked me to. They're bringing charges against both you and Tristan. Both of them? Mom sank into an armchair. But surely Tristan was just what, Mom? Just convinced my sister to commit felony fraud? Just helped her steal $50,000? You didn't have to post those messages. Scarlett spat. Tristan's lost his job. His reputation is ruined. Your sister's reputation is what you're worried about, a new voice cut in. Aunt Sarah, Mom's sister, stepped out of the kitchen. My God, Serenity, you've really messed up with these two. Mom bristled. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Aunt Sarah continued, that for years we've watched you excuse everything Scarlett does while holding Julia to impossible standards, and look where it's got us. That's not true, Mom protested. I love both my daughters equally. Really? I couldn't hold back anymore. When I graduated college with honors, you spent the whole ceremony talking about Scarlett's new boyfriend. When I got promoted at work, you changed the subject to Scarlett's charity work, which, by the way, was apparently funded with stolen money. I never meant to, Scarlett started. To what? Get caught? Because those messages make it pretty clear you meant to steal from me. Dad stepped between us. Julia, enough. Yes, what Scarlett did was wrong, but destroying our family won't fix it. I didn't destroy anything, I said. I just exposed what was already broken. My phone buzzed. A text from Gemma. Tristan's been arrested. Detective wants to know if you'll testify. Scarlett must have read my expression. Please, Julia, don't testify. I'll do anything. I'll get a loan in my own name to pay you back. With what credit? I laughed bitterly. You can't even qualify for a credit card after what you did to your own finances. We could help, Dad offered. Your mother and I could. No. Aunt Sarah's voice was firm. You've helped enough. Scarlett needs to face consequences. But she's my baby, Mom wailed. Julia, please. If you love your sister at all, love, I cut her off. Love is respect. Love is trust. Love isn't stealing someone's identity because you know they'll be too afraid of upsetting the family to fight back. Scarlett stood up suddenly. You want to know why I did it? Because everything always comes so easy to you. Perfect Julia with her perfect job and perfect credit score. Easy? I exploded. You think my life is easy? I worked 2 jobs through college while you partied. I built my credit while you maxed out cards. I earned everything I have, and you tried to steal it because you were too lazy to do the same. The room fell silent. Even Mom had no response. The detective is waiting for my answer, I said, holding up my phone. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to testify. Scarlett and Tristan are going to face charges, and this family is going to stop pretending that love means letting people hurt each other. You'd really send your sister to jail? Dad asked quietly. You'd really ask me to let her get away with this? I countered. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Adrian. Whatever you decide, I'm proud of you. I looked around the room, at Scarlett's tears, Mom's devastation, Dad's disappointment, and Aunt Sarah's quiet approval. Years of family dynamics exploding in one moment of truth. I'm done, I said finally. Done being the responsible one who has to forgive everything. Done being the bad guy for standing up for myself. Done with all of it. I typed a quick response to the detective. I'll testify. As I walked out, Scarlett called after me. I hate you. I paused at the door. No, Scarlett, you hate yourself. And that's not my problem anymore. The spring air hit my face as I stepped outside, carrying with it the scent of new beginnings. Behind me, I could hear Mom crying, Aunt Sarah's stern voice, Dad's attempts at peacemaking. But for the first time in my life, their drama felt distant, like a TV show I could finally turn off. My phone lit up with another message from Adrian. Coming to get you. Ice cream and bad movies? I smiled through my tears. Yes, please. 2 weeks after the confrontation, I sat across from Detective Morris, watching her review the case files. The evidence is solid, she said, tapping the screenshots. Between the bank footage, forged documents, and these messages, we have a strong case against both your sister and Mr. Bennett. My phone buzzed. Another message from a stranger who'd seen my story. Your posts helped me confront my own brother about stealing from our parents. Thank you. Miss Riley, Detective Morris caught my attention. There's something else you should see. She slid a document across the desk. It was a credit card statement in Scarlett's name, showing dozens of charges at luxury stores, high-end restaurants, and, is that a payment to a casino? I leaned closer. Your sister and Mr. Bennett had quite the gambling habit. We've uncovered similar patterns across multiple accounts. A knock at the door interrupted us. Gemma poked her head in. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was awful. I'd asked her to come for moral support. Adrian had a work commitment he couldn't miss. Perfect timing, Detective Morris said. We were just discussing the extent of the fraud. How bad is it? Gemma asked, settling into the chair beside me. Beyond the loan in your name, the detective continued. They ran up nearly 100,000 in gambling debts. The casino is pressing charges separately. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Scarlett's being evicted. She needs to move back home. Please drop the charges. I showed the message to Gemma, who snorted. Still trying to save her from consequences? Miss Riley, Detective Morris leaned forward. I should warn you, your sister's lawyer is pushing for a plea deal. They want you to agree to drop the identity theft charges in exchange for full restitution. And if I don't? She's looking at potential jail time. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Aunt Sarah. Whatever you decide, remember, enabling bad behavior isn't love. I need some air, I said, stepping out of the office. In the hallway, I found myself face to face with Tristan's mother. Her designer handbag couldn't hide her desperation. Julia, please, she grabbed my arm. Tristan made a mistake. He's a good boy. If you drop the charges, a good boy? Gemma stepped between us. Your good boy helped steal $50,000. They're young. They can pay it back. Mrs. Bennett. Detective Morris emerged from her office. This is not an appropriate contact. Please leave before I call security. After she left, I slumped against the wall. Everyone wants me to just forgive and forget. Because that's easier for them, Gemma said. But what about you? My phone chimed with a notification. Someone had tagged me in a post. It was Scarlett writing a public apology. I'm sorry if my actions hurt anyone. I was desperate and in love. I hope my sister can find it in her heart to forgive me and drop these cruel charges. The comments flooded in immediately. Family should forgive family. Everyone makes mistakes. Don't send your sister to jail. But among them was a different voice. Don't fall for this manipulation. I lost everything because I forgave my family member's fraud. Stand your ground. Detective Morris cleared her throat. We need your decision about the plea deal. I straightened up. Can I use your computer? She nodded, leading us back into her office. I logged into Facebook and began typing. Response to my sister's apology. Sorry doesn't pay back $50,000. Sorry doesn't fix my credit. Sorry doesn't undo the weeks of family harassment I've endured. Real accountability means facing consequences, not emotional manipulation. The charges stand. You sure about this? Gemma asked softly. My phone rang, Dad calling. I declined it. Yes, I told Detective Morris. No plea deal. Press all charges. They'll call you heartless, Gemma warned. Maybe, but I'd rather be heartless than spineless. As if on cue, my phone exploded with notifications. Mom's message came first. You've broken my heart. Then Aunt Sarah. Stay strong, proud of you. Adrian. Finally, someone in your family learns about consequences. And finally, an unknown number. I'm a fraud investigator. Your story inspired me to start a support group for family fraud victims. Would you share your experience? I looked up at Detective Morris. What happens next? Court date will be set. Both defendants will be formally charged. Are you prepared to testify? Yes, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. I am. Walking out of the police station, Gemma linked her arm through mine. Ice cream? I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Actually, I think I'm ready for something stronger. Let's get a drink. I want to toast to consequences. Behind us, my phone kept buzzing with reactions to my post, but for the first time, I didn't feel the need to look. The truth was out there, and I was done apologizing for it. The courthouse loomed before me, all granite and stern authority. Today was Scarlett's arraignment, and my stomach churned as Adrian and I climbed the steps. You don't have to be here, he reminded me. The DA could handle it. Before I could respond, a voice called out, Julia, wait! Tristan jogged up, looking nothing like the polished financier I remembered. His designer suit had been replaced by wrinkled khakis and an untucked shirt. 5 minutes, he pleaded. Please. Adrian stepped forward protectively, but I held up a hand. It's okay, I'll hear him out. We moved to a nearby bench, Adrian hovering within earshot. Scarlett doesn't know I'm here, Tristan said, running his hands through unkempt hair. There's something you need to know. I think the screenshots told me plenty. No, this is different. He pulled out his phone. Remember when Scarlett claimed the money was for an investment? It wasn't. Look. He showed me a series of bank statements. Thousands transferred to online gambling sites, luxury stores, even a down payment on a car that wasn't in either of their names. Who's Maria? I asked, noting the name on the car payment. Tristan's face reddened. That's that's the other reason I'm here. Maria is my wife. The world tilted sideways. You're what? We've been married 3 years. Scarlett knew. The money. Some of it was to keep her quiet. Adrian must have seen my face because he was instantly beside me. What's going on? Show him, I managed. As Adrian reviewed the statements, Tristan continued. Scarlett threatened to tell Maria about us if I didn't help her get more money. When the gambling debts got bad, she came up with the loan idea. And you went along with it? Adrian's voice dripped contempt. I was trapped, but after you posted those screenshots, Maria found out anyway. She's divorcing me. My firm fired me, and Scarlett, he laughed bitterly. Scarlett's been telling everyone I forced her into it. My phone buzzed. Mom, where are you? Scarlett needs you in court. Why are you telling me this now? I asked Tristan. Because I'm taking a plea deal, and they want me to testify that it was all my idea, that I manipulated Scarlett. Her lawyer says she might avoid jail time if I do. But that's not what happened. No, he stood up. It's not, and I'm done lying for her. As he walked away, Adrian squeezed my shoulder. You okay? No. I showed him Mom's text. But I need to get in there. The courtroom was already packed. I spotted my parents in the front row, Mom clutching her tissues, Dad staring straight ahead. Scarlett sat with her lawyer, wearing a conservative dress that screamed innocent victim. All rise, the bailiff called. As the judge entered, Scarlett turned and caught my eye. For a moment, her mask slipped, and I saw raw panic. The proceedings began. Charges were read. Pleas were entered. Then Scarlett's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client was manipulated by an older, sophisticated financial professional. Mr. Bennett used his expertise to— Objection. The prosecutor stood. We have evidence suggesting Ms. Riley was a willing participant who initiated the fraud. Evidence? Scarlett's lawyer scoffed. A few text messages that could easily be taken out of context? Actually, a new voice called from the back of the courtroom. There's more. Every head turned. Tristan strode forward, clutching a manila envelope. Your Honor, he addressed the judge, I have documentation proving Ms. Riley's active role in planning this fraud, including recordings of our conversations about targeting her sister. Scarlett leapt up. He's lying. He made me do it. Ms. Riley, the judge warned. Sit down. As Tristan handed over the envelope, Scarlett spun toward me. Julia, tell them he forced me. The courtroom fell silent, waiting for my response. Mom's pleading eyes, Dad's rigid posture, Adrian's supportive presence behind me, all faded away as I met my sister's desperate gaze. No, I said clearly. No more lies, Scarlett. She collapsed into her chair, shoulders shaking. Mom started to rise, but Dad held her back. In light of this new evidence, the judge announced, bail is set at $50,000, next hearing in 2 weeks. As the bailiff led Scarlett away, she called out, Mom, Dad, please. I watched my parents hurry after their precious daughter, neither looking my way. But for once, their rejection didn't sting. Outside, Adrian handed me a coffee. That was intense. Yeah, I checked my phone, dozens of notifications from the support group I joined. But worth it. What now? I took a deep breath of fresh air. Now we get breakfast. I'm done letting Scarlett's drama dictate my life. As we walked away, I heard Mom calling my name. For the first time ever, I kept walking. The day of Scarlett's sentencing arrived with a surprising visitor at my door. Aunt Sarah stood there, holding 2 coffee cups and wearing a determined expression. Your mother's a mess, she said, handing me a cup. She's been calling everyone in the family, begging them to write character references for Scarlett. Did you write one? No, and that's why I'm persona non grata at family dinners now. She settled onto my couch. Are you going to the sentencing? Before I could answer, my phone chimed. A message from Tristan's wife, Maria. Thank you for exposing the truth. The divorce is final. He can't hurt either of us anymore. Julia? Aunt Sarah pressed. I have to go, I said. I need to see this through. The courthouse was more crowded than the arraignment. My story had gone viral, spawning discussions about family fraud and toxic forgiveness. I spotted several familiar faces from the online support group. Ready? Adrian appeared beside me, straightening his tie. Mom intercepted us before we could enter the courtroom. Julia, please, one word from you could reduce her sentence. She's your sister. Mrs. Riley, Adrian stepped between us. Julia's not the one who committed a crime, but she's the one sending her sister to jail. No. I turned to face her. Scarlett's actions sent her to jail. My silence would just make me complicit. Inside, Scarlett sat with her lawyer, wearing the same innocent victim outfit. But this time, something was different. She looked defeated. The judge entered and proceedings began. The prosecutor detailed the extent of Scarlett's crimes. Not just my loan, but years of fraud and manipulation. Then Scarlett's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client recognizes her mistakes. She's prepared to make a statement. Scarlett approached the podium, hands shaking. I wanted to apologize, not just to the court, but to my sister. My breath caught as she turned to face me. Julia, I've spent my whole life being jealous of you. You worked hard, made good choices, built a real life. I took shortcuts, lied, manipulated. And when I saw a chance to take what you had, she wiped her eyes. I convinced myself you owed me somehow, that because you were successful, it was okay to steal from you. The courtroom was silent. I'm not asking for forgiveness anymore. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that you were right to expose me. Maybe if someone had done that sooner, I wouldn't be here now. Dad stood up suddenly, walking out. Mom followed, sobbing. The judge cleared his throat. Ms. Riley, you've pled guilty to identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. Taking into account your confession and cooperation, I sentence you to 18 months in prison, followed by 5 years probation. You will also make full restitution to your sister. As the bailiff approached, Scarlett looked at me one last time. I really am sorry, Julia. For the first time since this began, I believed her. Outside, reporters clustered around the courthouse steps. A journalist thrust a microphone at me. How do you feel about your sister's sentence? Before I could respond, Aunt Sarah stepped forward. My niece exposed a crime and stood her ground despite immense family pressure. That's the real story here. Adrian guided me through the crowd to his car. My phone was exploding with notifications. From Mom, I hope you're happy now. From Dad, we raised you better than this. From Gemma, justice served. Drinks tonight? From the support group, you've inspired so many of us to speak up. Pull over, I suddenly told Adrian. What's wrong? Nothing. I pulled out my phone and opened Facebook. It was time for one last post. Today, my sister was sentenced for stealing my identity. Many have asked if I regret exposing her. The answer is no. Real love doesn't enable destruction. Real family doesn't demand silence in the face of wrongdoing. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let people face the consequences of their choices. It's not about revenge. It's about breaking cycles of abuse and manipulation. To everyone still hiding family fraud out of shame or obligation, you deserve better. The truth may hurt, but lies destroy. Powerful stuff, Adrian said, reading over my shoulder. Think it'll help anyone? My phone pinged with an immediate response. I'm pressing charges against my mother tomorrow. Thank you for giving me courage. Aunt Sarah texted next. Proud of you, kiddo. Family dinner at my place next week? You know what? I said to Adrian. I think I'm finally free. Free from what? From being the family doormat. From guilt. From Scarlett's shadow. I smiled. Let's get those drinks with Gemma. I want to celebrate. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Mom and Dad standing by their car, looking lost. Part of me ached for them, but a bigger part knew this was necessary. Sometimes love means letting people sit with their own discomfort. My phone lit up one last time. A message from an unknown number. Your story saved my life. Never stop speaking up. I closed my eyes, feeling peace settle over me. The truth had finally set me free. The morning sun streamed through my new apartment windows as I unpacked the last box. Moving day had finally arrived, and with it, a fresh start. My phone buzzed. A message from the fraud victim support group coordinator. The conference room is booked for tonight's meeting. Still okay to share your story? I'll be there, I replied. Adrian appeared in the doorway with another box. Found this in my car. It's from your old place. Inside were photo albums, cards, family mementos. At the bottom, a recent letter from Scarlett, still unopened. You going to read it? Adrian asked. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mom standing there, looking smaller somehow, more uncertain. Your aunt said you were moving today, she said softly. I brought lunch. I hesitated, then stepped aside to let her in. She took in the half-unpacked boxes, the fresh paint, the new beginning. It's nice, she offered. Very you. Thanks. I cleared space on the counter for the food containers. Why are you here, Mom? She pulled out Scarlett's latest commissary statement. She's doing better, taking classes, counseling. That's good. She asks about you. Mom's hands twisted together. We all miss you. Do you? I met her eyes. Or do you miss who I used to be? The daughter who stayed quiet, who cleaned up everyone's messes? Julia. Her voice cracked. I've been seeing a therapist. She's helping me understand how I failed you both. Adrian quietly slipped out, giving us privacy. I enabled Scarlett's worst behaviors, Mom continued, and I punished you for having boundaries. I'm so sorry. My phone chimed, another support group message. Can you believe it? My brother finally admitted what he did to our parents. Your story gave me strength to stand firm. I showed Mom the message. See this? Every week I hear from people who've been hurt by family members, who felt trapped by obligation. They needed someone to say it's okay to speak up. And that someone was you. Mom reached for the unopened letter from Scarlett. Maybe it's time to read this? I broke the seal. Dear Julia, prison is teaching me things I should have learned years ago, like how my actions hurt people, how Mom and Dad's favoritism damaged us both, how jealousy poisoned me. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve to call you sister anymore. But I want you to know that your strength in exposing me was the wake-up call I needed. The counselor here says true redemption starts with total honesty. So here's my truth. You were always the better person, not because Mom and Dad said so, but because you built your life on integrity while I built mine on lies. I'm finally facing who I really am. It hurts, but it's necessary. Scarlett. Mom wiped her eyes. She's really changing. Maybe. I folded the letter. But my forgiveness isn't required for her growth. No, Mom agreed, surprising me. It's not. I'm learning that too. My phone lit up. Aunt Sarah. Dinner still on for tonight? I have the support group meeting first, I texted back. Speaking of, I told Mom, I should get ready for that. She stood, gathering her purse. Could I come sometime? To listen? Really? I want to understand, to do better. I hugged her. Our first real hug in months. Baby steps, Mom. After she left, Adrian returned. You okay? Yeah. I looked around my new space. No ghosts, no guilt, no obligation to be less than I am. I really am. My phone buzzed one final time. A comment on my last viral post. Update: my family member who stole from me finally faced consequences. Like your sister, they're getting help. Like you, I'm finding peace. Thank you for showing me that speaking up isn't betrayal. It's the first step to healing. I smiled, picking up my keys. Ready for the meeting? Always, Adrian said. You know what I love about your new place? What? It's on higher ground, kind of like you. I laughed, closing the door behind us. He was right. I'd climbed out of the valley of family dysfunction, of toxic loyalty, of suffocating silence. The view from up here was clear, and the air was clean, and my voice, my truth, was finally completely free. Behind us, Scarlett's letter sat on the counter, not forgotten, but not controlling my story anymore. Sometimes healing means writing your own ending, even if it's not the one your family would choose. My ending started with truth, grew through courage, and bloomed in freedom. And that was more than enough.